What's up guys, Chris here from Mainely Mesh. Today I'm going to be doing a quick review of the new Maverik Hyperlite carbon fiber lacrosse shaft. So really cool new offering from Maverik, and it's always awesome seeing the bigger guys get into some carbon fiber shafts as well. This shaft is definitely not your standard kind of flex bare minimums carbon fiber shaft, so I really want to try to take you through as much as I know about this shaft right now and show it off for you guys. So first and foremost, the weight. It's the Hyperlite shaft, right? Supposedly Hyperlite. The shaft weighs in at about 5 ounces, which is the equivalent of roughly 140 grams, 141 grams. So that puts it right at the same weight as the String King A7 150, in between the String King Metal and the Metal Plus, and about 15 grams lighter on average than an Epic Dragonfly shaft. So you're looking at about half an ounce between this and a Dragonfly on average, a little bit heavier than the String King Metal. So it's definitely about as light as most carbon fiber shafts have really ever been offered at. So going into what else makes this shaft unique, actually, you know what? Let's start with the aesthetics, because that's probably my favorite part about this shaft. So the Hyperlite shaft has a really cool aesthetic. Basically, they went with just a nice kind of checkered carbon fiber look. So it's got that 90-degree checkered carbon fiber pattern all the way down, and then the modern looking Hyperlite font, which is really futuristic and just a cool vibe to the shaft. This matte gray Maverik logo, and then down at the bottom they've got these little dots, and on the flip side it says carbon fiber, just in case you were doubting it. So really cool look overall. This right here is the grit version, thanks to Coach Manders pilfering things away from the store, that little scoundrel. So the matte version is just this same look, except matte doesn't have that same sandpaper grip. It's just more of a kind of classic non-grip profile. So really cool looking shaft. You can see I paired it up with this black Maverik Optic U with String King Black 3S, and it just is a mean looking stick. Now, as far as this shaft plays, it's also a unique kind of entry into the carbon fiber market. This thing, and you can try to bend it over your knee as much as you want, this thing is stiff as a board, and it's actually been a little bit stiffer than some of the metal shafts that I have in the shop. So really stiff option. What that means, and there's a lot of argument between flex and stiff and blah blah blah. Basically, you just have to kind of know your mechanic. If you're someone who's really good at snapping your top wrist, has a lot of power in that forearm, you can really go all the way down to like a 9 flex, have a lot of snap, and still have a decent amount of consistency in your shot. And so for someone like me who has, thinner, lanky wrists, I've always liked more of a lower flex shaft. And if I'm really trying to shoot as fast as possible, then I'm going to go with a stiff shaft. I liked having a little bit of give and a little bit of snap, which is why I usually use like a 5 flex. But it's just something to kind of know depending on your mechanic. So it's nice having another option there. The one thing that I do worry about, stiff carbon fiber shafts, and there aren't many that I've seen that have held up too well, and I think part of that is because when a flexible shaft takes a hit, part of the reason the force is lessened is because the impulse is decreased of that check due to the fact that the shaft is giving with that force and kind of extending the duration of that impact. So with a stiffer shaft, sometimes what that can do is that instead of the carbon fiber flexing and retaining its shape and not really wearing too much on the resin in between, if you have a stiffer shaft, it doesn't really want to bend much, and sometimes that can increase the amount of delamination in between the carbon fiber layers. So I don't know too much about the insides of this shaft. I didn't talk to the manufacturers at all, just because I wanted to kind of give it a general overview first. But that is something that worries me a little, and I've heard some general rumblings on the Instagram straight flexing machine. So just keep an eye out for that. There's a lot of kids who have been snagging this. Maverik does a great job of staying true to their warranties. I believe they have a 6-month warranty on the shaft. Don't quote me on that though. So just something to keep in mind. The other thing that does kind of worry me is it appears as though this checkered outer is indeed a carbon fiber wrap. I'm not sure how they layered everything underneath, but this is also a look they had on some of their metal shafts. If you remember back, some of their side ties, I think the H2 or something, had this kind of checkered look. But it appears as though that is indeed the carbon fiber wrap, and from the little I know about carbon fiber manufacturing, having those 90-degree layers especially on top, can really decrease the strength of a shaft. So like I said, I have no idea how they align things underneath, but I know that people, especially when they're just having, if it's just a single layer of carbon fiber, they're almost always going at a 45-degree angle, just because it can really drastically increase the strength of the shaft. So a lot of the strength of a carbon fiber shaft has to do with the way you layer everything. So hopefully we hear a little bit more from Maverik as to how they went about this, because if you align these things the wrong way, they really can decrease their strength pretty dramatically. So I do worry a little bit, especially since this is only an 140-gram shaft. You are losing a few layers of carbon fiber and just losing a little bit of weight and a little bit of strength overall. So I'm kind of tentatively gonna leave the verdict out there until I see some more metadata from you guys. You know, usually the whiners are pretty vocal about things when something breaks pretty quickly. So I'm sure we'll see something, or if we don't hear anything, no news is good news in this case. So just keep an eye out for that. Really cool product overall. I'm not going to be doing a Break It series test, partially because I want to prove to Maverik that I can indeed review your shaft without breaking it in a stupid way by smacking it over a metal post, and this shaft wouldn't hold up well in that test, kind of the same way that the Epic Dragonfly didn't hold up in that test. It's just not the way carbon fiber performs in the field. So really interesting to see where this thing goes. I'm going to be playing around with it, have some other locals in the neighborhood playing around with this, just to see if anything kind of surprises me out of nowhere, like if it breaks in 2 days or something. But really love the feel. I really love the look. It's just awesome that Maverik is coming in and doing something in carbon fiber. This goes for $140, which is definitely up there. So I do worry, like I said, about that strength. In my opinion, if you're spending $140, you want it to be something that's going to last a while, especially when you have some really strong competitors. Although they aren't at the same weight class, they're coming in with year warranties at the $115 and even $140 price point. So overall, I'll give it a 7.5 or an 8. Just really cool. That, like I said, I can't say it enough. Awesome seeing new companies coming into the carbon fiber market. It's only good for the industry, and having a stiffer version is really going to open kids' minds to, you know, going back to it's all about player preference. So Maverik didn't send me this shaft. I bought it on my own, so I am completely not biased on this one. Like I said, I got to prove to Maverik that I can do something good with their stuff. I've always loved what they do. Obviously, I love the Optic U a lot. So thanks so much. Subscribe by clicking this Optic U here. And other than that, thanks so much, and I will catch you guys next time.